Hello. I just thought I'd highlight this really interesting tweet from at Roman Scotland on Twitter, of course. It's a map of around 150 sites of potential or likely Roman origin across Scotland. And it asks the question, wouldn't it be great if archaeologists could do more work on some of them, if only to find out what they actually are? And it highlights a severe bias in Roman studies that manifests, broadly speaking, across the English Scottish border. North of the border, Roman sites are likely to be less interesting, and fewer researchers are likely to be pursuing funding, for example, to look at Roman sites. South of the border, Roman sites are of intense interest, especially the closer you get to the border, and the whole Hadrian's Wall landscape is essentially one massive concurrent Roman study area. And this is, I think, largely to do with the perceived inheritance of England and Scotland. The English consider themselves, in a post-Victorian sense, to be the inheritors of a Roman civilizing mandate across the world, but also on these islands. It's often England that sees itself as having been the civilizer, the civilizing nation. And Scotland has a tradition of inheriting a slightly sort of counterpoint to that, an oppositional aspect, a wild streak, the barbarian, the Pict. And maps like this really show that that is a psycho-national, psychological um, thing, partly because of Hadrian's Wall and the way that we've been taught about it for the past few hundred years, in fact, but also as well partly because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. When a nation tells itself what it is based on stories from the past, stories from their fathers and mothers, in fact, then suddenly you turn a blind eye to things that are counter to that or that go against, for example, a very compelling Scottish streak of we were never under the thumb. When actually the reality is not necessarily being under the thumb, but certainly having a much closer trading relationship and interconnectivity with the rest of the Roman world through the north of England and Hadrian's Wall. Now, where this begins is hard to pin down, isn't it? Is it because Hadrian's Wall existed that later English kingdoms and then the Kingdom of England went on to have its own Roman identity, and north of the wall, again, either because of a reaction to that or because of other histories and other interactions with, for example, Scandinavia and Ireland, they developed something a bit different, again, because of the convenience of that demarcation. Or is it the other way round? Because those countries came to exist because of other geopolitical forces, Hadrian's Wall became the cartoon character border, a line in the sand that would separate these entities. I think it's actually quite hard, really, to nail that down because, really, realistically, Hadrian's Wall has never been a solid border for Scotland and England in particular. It's even Roman times it was very permeable, uh, with the right taxation being applied. But for example, that Scottish border there is not Hadrian's Wall. Hadrian's Wall sort of cuts across the bottom of the image, more or less just on the top of the scale at the bottom right there. There's a fair chunk of England there. So it does raise questions as to which came first, the chicken or the egg, the Roman or the barbarian, the Englishman or the Scot. But also as well, it manifests amongst colleagues in terms of their research agendas, and it shows a bias. It shows our bias to tend to think about what is interesting, what's worth studying, based on preconceived notions of the Roman world, and indeed preconceived notions of what it is to be in the United Kingdom today. I just thought it was interesting, worthwhile talking about, and I thought I'd spread the debate. So please do comment below. Let me know what you think. For my part, uh, I think I'd much rather learn about a complex story such as this one than the idea of there being a sort of a straight line across the country, and and that's it. I think humanity is complicated and messy, and our story surely has to be just as interesting. Anyway, until next time, take care. Cheers.